Hello, my name is Jonah, and I'm going to be going over what the Morgan middleware is and how to use it. Now, Morgan is a middleware. It's made and maintained by the Express.js team. It's very popular, as you can see here, with a lot of weekly downloads. It's named after the fictional forensic analyst and vigilante Dexter Morgan from the Dexter Show, and it is used to log HTTP requests in JavaScript servers. And I guess the idea is that you're logging clues to use, just like the character looks at clues to figure out who to kill. But uh, why should you use logging? Why is Morgan important? Well, there are a few reasons. The most obvious one is debugging and troubleshooting. I'm sure if you've ever made a web app that has a backend server, you've had to look into what sort of requests are or are not being made when you do things. And you can do that, through Postman or your browser, looking through that sort of thing. But if you can see everything going through a server, you can get a much better idea of what's going on and what other people are doing if your website is in production. It's also useful for security. If somebody's trying to break your website somehow, they may be making suspicious HTTP requests that you otherwise wouldn't notice, but by having logs, you can audit your server and you can see what's being interacted with. Then it's also useful for usage and performance and analytics because maybe if you see the server is not running well, you might notice that there's some weird code that's making a lot of server requests that don't need to be happening, stuff like that. But enough about why you should use it. We're going to focus in this presentation on how you use it. So let me switch over to VS Code here. I've got a basic app set up here with just a few test GET requests. And we've got Morgan here, so I'm just going to run this with NodeMon. You can see it's running. And to use Morgan on a basic level is very easy. All we've got to do is put it in like this, just app.useMorgan. And when you're using Morgan, you need to format it, or you need to tell it what format it wants to log things in. And you have three different ways to do this. The simplest way is with predefined formats. So with these, we can just put in a string with the predefined formats. Uh, Actually, we're not going to use common. First, we're going to do dev, because it's very simple. So now we're going to save this. And just to show off how it works, I'm going to curl the server that is now running with just a slash. So we should be getting hello world. But, that's what the browser or whatever is getting. That's not what we're logging. What we're logging is here. We can see it's a GET request. It's hitting slash. It responded with code 200. We can see how long it took. We can see how long the request was. This is some basic information. But these predefined messages can be changed. Like if we want the common Apache debug message, we could change this, do the same curl, and this format has changed. But if you want to be more particular with your debug messages, you can also use custom strings instead of these predefined strings. And in these custom strings, you just put everything you want to have in the logging. So like we have down in this dev message, I want to see what type of method it is. I want to see the URL it's going to. I want to get the status code. And maybe I want the content length like we had in that earlier one. So these are just tokens that Postman, or not Postman, Morgan has available. So we can see these are just pre-made things, and then this is getting something particular from the response, so the content length. So ideally, this should look like our dev message here, except it shouldn't display the time because we didn't put that in here. So now I'm going to curl that, go back here, and yeah, just as expected, no time, everything else we wanted. There is also another way to do it if this is not advanced enough for you or you have some custom information you want to put, there is actually a function method that you can do. So if we, instead of putting a string in here, we're going to do function tokens request response. These are just your normal request response, and the tokens are Morgan's custom tokens. Then we'll return, actually, put that down here. Return there. So now if we want to use tokens as a Morgan token, we can do something like this. So that gets the method, and it needs to request a response to figure out what the method is. We can also do like the URL. These are things we were doing before. You know, this isn't going to change our message that much. It's just showing the different ways you can get it. But if you want to put something custom in your code that Morgan doesn't have by default, you can also do that. I don't have anything in here, so I'm just gonna, maybe I put a string in, I put test. So now we'll see, hopefully, now when we make this log, it'll say the method URL, and it'll say test. Let me just finish that up, make sure I'm joining that. And that should be all we need. So I'm gonna save that, and we're gonna curl once again. And great, now we can see we got the method, we got the URL, and we got our little string here. So that's every way you can start up Morgan, every way you can format your requests. But now we're going to talk about how you can get extra information or how you can filter information. So first of all, let me undo all this and go back to our string method, because that's my preferred way of working with it. It's the simplest, but you can still add stuff to it under like the predefined ones. So we're going to make a custom token now. So make something that Morgan by default cannot show, but that we want to record in our logs. I'm going to call this, I want to get the user agent. So what sort of browser or whatever the request was made from. So I'm going to put this is just like a delimiter. That's not actually any sort of information. And then I'm going to put user agent short, because I'm going to get the user agent, I'm going to shorten it so it's easily readable. Okay, that string should be good, but obviously this isn't going to do anything because user agent short isn't a token in Morgan. I can demonstrate that real quick by curling there. It crashed, as you would expect. So we're actually going to create that token down here. We're going to do Morgan.token. We're calling it user agent short. And we're making a function so it knows what is in that token. So we'll do this, do that. So we want to return the user agent. So we'll get that from the request header. And yeah, I think that's all we need there. So I'm going to save this. And now we're going to try this curl again. Now if we look back here, we get all of this. This isn't really short. I could make it a little shorter. User agent. Split this down a bit. And that's just in case it doesn't, we have an unknown user agent. It's not really going to happen in our test cases, so a little unnecessary, but not a big deal. We'll run this again. Look back, and yeah, now we've shortened it down to this. And just to show off this is working, being that I'm going to also send that same request here in Postman. Let me open that up real quick. We've got the same, get request, we're going to send it. Look back here, postman. Great. So now that we've shown different tokens we can send, we also want to see how we can store it. Right now, we've just been printing it to the console. That's obviously not ideal if your server is shutting down a lot, you're restarting it, or you just want to get it in a more easily distributable file. So we can actually specify what stream we want to output our logs into. I'm going to just do a basic file stream. So if I'm doing that, I'm going to need to add in fs and path real quick. Require path. And we're going to create a file stream. We'll call it log stream. Right. Path join. And we've got a file. As you can see, I already have it open in VS Code. It's access.log. Okay. And just doing more of our log stream stuff. Okay. Should be all good. So now we have a log stream, and we can very easily add that to our Morgan here by just putting stream log stream. That didn't work. Ah, yeah, I think I see why. Needs to be inside the Morgan. So, it's great. We're going to curl that again. As you can see, nothing in here in standard out, but we have our log in the log file. Another thing we can do with Morgan, as we mentioned earlier, you could use this for debugging, so maybe you don't want to log every little successful request because you don't really care. You just want to see the ones that aren't working, so you can examine that and figure out why they're not working. So if you want to do that, you can add a skip function to our custom string here. I'm going to get rid of this stream because it's easier to see it in the console, and I'm going to put skip. And then when you do skip, you need a function to determine what you're skipping. So we're just going to do our basic request response here, and we're going to return when the status code is under 400. So anytime we're getting a non-error return code. So let me save that up. And now, if I curl here again, nothing in the console. Just if you don't believe me, there's also nothing in the access log. But if we curl, I have a little error method here that always returns an error. So we're going to curl the error method. As we can see, curl had an error, and app recorded it. So that's how you can filter error logs. And that is also the last major feature of Morgan. So thank you for watching. I hope you've learned how to use this very useful but also simple to use middleware, and it will help your development process in the future.